Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making an astronaut in Blender. Let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Edit Preferences, and you're going to install a new add-on called Extra Objects. So go ahead and install that by clicking this little button right here. I already have mine clicked. Exit off, and then just delete the default cube by hitting delete, and then delete the light as well. We are not going to need those two. And then hold Shift and A. We're going to add a new mesh, a round cube. We're going to bring up the menu down here, and we're going to change the radius to 1. And what that'll do is that'll make it a sphere. And we're actually going to load in the reference image as well. So go ahead and hit Shift A and go down to Image, Reference. And we are going to load the front image of the astronaut, just so we can determine the size of everything. And we can move that along the x-axis by hitting G and then X, and just move it off to the side here. All right, so now we have a reference image. So go to the head or the sphere, and we're just going to give it a new name. Click or just type in head. So go back to that, and we're going to add a modifier to it. Go down to the modifiers tab, add modifier, subdivision, and we're going to increase that to 2 or 3 if your computer can handle it. Then we're going to take the sphere and we're going to grab it by hitting G and hold Z to constrain it along the x-axis, and just grab it and move it up. And we're going to scale it up as well. So hit S to scale. We're just going to make it a little bit bigger. Great. All right, so now we are going to tab into edit mode, or you can go right up here and hit edit mode. All right, and then we're just going to come up here, click this button, the face select menu, and we're going to select the 4 faces right here, and then hit Control plus, and that'll increase your selection. So now that your selection's increased, we're going to hit the X-ray menu up here on the top right. And we're going to hit 3 on the number pad to go on the side view. And now we can see we have our faces selected. And we're just going to hit E to extrude. And hit Y to extrude along the Y axis. And we're just going to bring it back a little bit. And that'll just make our helmet like the glass on the helmet. Perfect. All right, so we can come out of X-ray menu and come out of edit, and now we have the helmet. So go ahead back into the front facing menu by hitting 1, and we're going to add another round cube, and this one will be for the body. So hold Shift A, go to Mesh, Round Cube, and we are just going to move it along the Z axis downward. We're going to hit G and then Z and just move that down. Now, in order to mirror the left and the right when we're editing, we are going to delete the left half of the face, or the left half of the sphere, and then we're just going to mirror it. So go ahead and tab into the edit mode, and then go into X-ray mode. And we're just going to select, make sure you're on face select by either going up here or hitting 3 on the keyboard. Hit delete and then delete faces. And that'll leave you with just a half sphere. Then we're going to tab out of edit mode and get out of X-ray mode. And we're going to add a new modifier. And that'll be mirror. And we're going to enable clipping. And we're also going to add another modifier called subdivision. And we're going to increase that to 3. I'm going to tab back into edit mode. And I'm going to hit this button right here. It's called on cage. And what that'll do is that'll bring up the left half of the cage. We're going to go into vertice select mode by hitting 1 on the keyboard. And we are just going to, we're going to shape the body. So first I'm going to select this bottom vertice. I'm going to enable proportional editing by clicking this button up here. And then you're going to hit G on the keyboard, and you can adjust the radius of the proportional editing by holding your scroll wheel up or down. So we're just going to make it about that big. I do want to go to the front facing menu. Now that I have that bottom vertice selected, I hit G and then Z, and I can move that up and down. So I'm just going to squish it a little bit like that. Then I'm also going to take this side vertice right here and do the same thing. So I'm going to go back into, now that I have the vertices selected, I'm going to go back into front facing mode by hitting 1. And then I'm going to move it along the x-axis just to make it a little skinnier. That should do it. And then I'm going to hit 3 on the keyboard. I'm going to tab out of here to get that side reference. So I'm going to hit Shift A while I'm on the side profile. Hit Shift A, go to Image, Reference, and just bring up that image reference and bring up that side reference, just so we know what the body shape is supposed to look like. So I'm going to grab it by hitting G and constrain it to the y-axis by hitting Y, and just move it along the side. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it does give us something to work off of. So I'm going to go back to the body and hit Tab to get into the edit mode. And I'm going to grab this back vertice right here and then hit 3 to go back to the side profile. And then hit G and Y to constrain it to the y-axis. We're just going to move the back a little bit forward. Right there. And then I'm just going to shape, like grab this one right here, that vertice. And I'm just going to try and shape it to where it's more of a chest. So I'm going to hit G, but I'm going to decrease the radius of the proportional editing. So hit G and then I'm going to increase it right about there. So I'm just going to move it like that. And then grab the front vertice again, go in the side profile and just move it along. And what we're doing is just trying to give him like a little belly. All right, and I noticed the helmet's not big enough, so I'm going to increase it, click on it, and then just hit S to scale it and increase it. There we go, that looks about right. All right, I'm going to go back into the front-facing menu, click on the body, and we're going to create the legs. So I'm going to tab back into edit mode, and then I'm going to go down, look at the bottom view, and I'm going to click on 3 on the keyboard, and that'll bring up our face select mode. And we're going to grab the 4 faces right here. Now remember we have mirror on, so whatever we do to the right side will happen to the left. So grab these 4, and I'm just going to set an inlay by hitting I on the keyboard. And what that'll do is that'll inlay faces. So now we have those legs, and I'm going to delete them. Delete faces, so we have these empty holes for the legs. And the next thing you're going to need is another add-on called loopholes. So go up, you can tab out if you need to. Go up to Edit Preferences and search for it's called Loop Tools, sorry. Search for a add-on called Loop Tools and just enable that. What that'll do is when you go back into edit mode, if you hit 2 on the keyboard, that'll bring up Edge Select. Just click on one of the edges, Alt and click. You can select the entire edge. So now you want to right click and go to Loop Tools at the top and just go to Circle, and that'll make it a circle. So now we're going to go into front facing menu after making it a circle. Zoom out a little bit, hit E on the keyboard to extrude it. And what we're doing is creating those little legs. So we're just going to extrude it and then rotate a little bit. Now this is up to you if you want to keep proportional editing on. I think I'm going to keep it on. It does look a little better. So I'm just rotating it so that it's a little bit even. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude again, but this time I'm not going to move it. I'm going to hit S to scale it down and then E to extrude and then scale down. And then hit F to put a face there. All right, so now we have the legs made. We're going to do the same things for the arms. So I'm gonna hit 3 on my keyboard to bring up face select. And I'm just gonna select these 4 faces here. And I'm gonna do the same thing, delete them, delete faces. And then hit 2 on your keyboard to bring up edge selection. Select one edge, hold Alt to select the other edge, and it'll automatically select the entire loop. So you're gonna right click, go up to loop tools, and then hit circle. So hit 3 on the keyboard, go into the side profile, hit S to scale it, remove it from proportional editing, and then scale. We're gonna make his arms a little bit smaller. And then go back into front facing menu, or front face mode by hitting 1 on the keyboard. Hit extrude. And we're just gonna extrude them out a little bit. And hit R to rotate them. And S to scale down a little bit. And then do it again. E to extrude. Rotate. Scale down. E to extrude. R to rotate. Scale down. All right, so now we have them looking like that. We're going to hit 1 on the keyboard to bring up the vertice mode, and go ahead and right click and then go down to merge vertices at center. And what that'll do is create the little round hands. I'm going to tab back into edit mode, and with the vertices still selected, we're going to hit Control plus, and that'll select all those vertices. And then go ahead and hit face mode right here. And that'll just switch it to face mode. All right, so now we're gonna hit 3 on the number pad to go into side profile. And we are going to rotate his arm a little bit. Just rotate it. And we can also scale it up too. So if your hand is a little bit small, you just wanna scale it up and rotate it. And I just went into front facing mode by hitting 1, and I'm gonna bring those down. So I think I made them a little bit too big. I'm gonna scale them down a little bit. Then go back into 3, and I'm going to move them forward. All right, so I think the proportions are a little bit off. I am going to grab the body and just move it up by hitting Z or holding Z to constrain it along the Z axis. And just going up. There we go. That looks a little better. Looks good. Now we're going to make his boots. Hit 1 on the number pad. Hit Shift A, and we're going to add a new mesh, and it's going to be a cube. And we're going to scale it down. And then hit G and Z to constrain along the Z axis. And just click on the number pad 3 to go on the side facing menu. And we're just going to scale it up on the Y axis. And then we're going to grab it and move it along the Y axis. All right, that looks good. Actually, I'm going to scale it down on the Z axis. So I'm going to hit S and then Z, scale it down. What we're trying to do is get this boot right here, just the bottom part of it. And grab, and I'm going to move it down a little bit. So go back into front facing menu or front facing mode, and we're just going to move that along to the side and then scale it along the X axis to make it just wide enough so it's a little bit bigger than his leg, a little bit wider than his leg. All right, that looks good. So now we have the bottom of the boot. We're going to go into edit mode. And we're going to get right click on it and just go to subdivide. And we're going to do number of cuts by 2. That'll give us some more vertices to work with. And then we're going to hit 3 on the keyboard to get into face select mode. And just grab the 6 faces right here. We're going to delete the faces. So now those faces are gone, and go ahead and tab out, and we're going to hit Control A to apply the scale. We're going to go into edit mode. We're going to hit 2 on the keyboard to bring up edge select, and just select those edges right there. We're going to hit E to extrude it and Z to constrain it along the Z axis, and just extrude it a little bit right above the boot. That looks good. And then we're going to right click, go to loop tool and circle. And we're going to scale that down a little bit. All right, that looks good. We're going to go into the side view by hitting 3 on the number pad. And then we're going to extrude it up by hitting E and then Z to extrude it up. All right, just go past his leg a little bit. That looks good. And then we're going to hit F to fill that face in. All right, that looks good. So we're going to hit Add Modifier, Subdivide Surface, and that'll make it look more like a boot. So we're going to hit that maybe like 3 times. So render 3, viewport 3. And actually, I'm going to tab back into edit mode. Clicking this top face right here. We got that one selected. And I'm going to hit I to inset it. And what that'll do is that'll fix that top boot. So hit I to inset. And that should make it a little bit better. That's good. Now the boot does look a little bit bigger. So I'm going to scale it down a little bit by hitting S on the keyboard. And that looks good. And then I'm going to grab it, hit G, and then Z. That looks good. Going on the side view, and I'm going to move it along the Y-axis just to get it in the proper spot. All right, that looks good. All right, next thing we're going to do is add a mirror modifier to it. So go ahead and click on it, and then go up to Modifier, hit Add Modifier, and Mirror. So hit Control A and go to Apply All Transforms. There you go. Now we have our boot on the other side. Looking good. All right, now we're going to shade smooth everything. So right click on these boots and click Shade Smooth, as well as body, shade smooth, and the head. Right click and shade smooth. And that'll just make it a little bit cleaner. All right, now we're going to add the little box on the front. So we're going to hit Shift A, Mesh, go down to Round Cube. And we're just going to bring the radius back down to 0.2. And then scale it down. Scale it down, and then we are going to scale it along the x-axis. So hit S on the keyboard and hit X just to make it wide enough. Hit 3 on the number pad to go on the side view, and we're going to hit G to grab it and just bring it forward. Now it's okay if the box is a little bit bigger on the back side because you're only going to see that front. That's good. And then we can click on it, right click, and shade smooth. He's got a little backpack on. We're going to add that in. So we're going to hit 1 on the keypad. We're going to do the same thing we just did. Shift A, Mesh. Add a round cube. Make sure the radius is 0.2. And we're going to go into side profile and just scale it along the y-axis by hitting S and Y. And make it about that size. And we're just going to hit G and then just put it into position right on his back. And if it's too big, you can scale it down by hitting S and then repositioning it. There we go. I'm actually going to make this one a little bit bigger than my previous one, just because it looks a little better. And then I'm going to right click it and shade smooth. I can also add a subdivision surface to make it even a little bit smoother. So I'm going to hit 2, and I'm also going to do the one on his tummy. So I'm going to hit Add Modifier, and then Subdivide Surface, and then put 2 for both of them. So now we're going to add the tube that is running from his backpack down to his box in the front. And for this one, we are going to hit 1 on the number pad to bring it into front view. Shift A, And we're going to go down to curve and path. So that'll bring up a new path for us. And we'll hit G just to move it off to the side, grab it and move it off. All right, go down here to the object data properties right here. And we are going to change the way that path looks. So click on geometry. And we are just going to put round and change the depth to around 0.04. And then fill your caps. And we're going to scale it along the x-axis, make it a little bit shorter. And actually we're going to go into top view mode by hitting 7 on the keyboard. We go into top view and we're going to rotate it. Go ahead and rotate it, and we're going to grab it and just bring it along the side, his side. There you go. And we're going to hide the head for now. So click on the head and hit H for hide. So he won't have his head right now. We're going to position this so that it's coming from the bag down and out over to his pack. So go back into top view mode by hitting 7. And we're going to drag it until it's right underneath his arm. All right. And then we're going to hit 3 to go on the side view mode. And we're going to hit G to grab it again. And we're going to bring it down. Perfect. So now we're going to hit tab to go into edit mode. And now we can edit individual vertices and place them and move them so that we can move this tube and get it flowing around him. So we're going to grab this front vertice and just move it into the box. Now it's okay if it doesn't look good for now. We're going to move all the other vertices. So go ahead and grab this one. And we can grab it and pull it out. So we just want to grab it just enough so that it pulls it out, but it doesn't leave the mesh, the body. So it always stays in contact with the body. All right, and then do that for all the rest. And just make this last vertice go into the box. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, that looks good. Actually, I want the tube a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go back into the object data properties. And I'm going to increase the depth just to make that tube a little bit bigger. And it's going to be 0.06 for me. It might be different for you. And then I'm going to readjust it. There we go. Looks good. And then I'm going to tab out of edit mode. And then I'm going to hit Alt-H to bring back the head. And don't forget to save your work. Control-S, that'll save it. All right, so now we need to add the buttons on his pocket and the buttons on the side of his head. So I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard, on the number pad, hit Shift-A, Mesh, and I'm going to do that round cube again. Increase the radius to 1, make it a sphere, scale it down by hitting S on the keyboard, and then go into the side profile by hitting 3 on the keyboard. Hit G to grab it and just move it forward. Now the ball's a little bit big right now, but that's on purpose. So we're going to zoom in by holding Control and zooming in. It might be different for you. I'm on a tablet, so it's a little bit different. So it'd be the middle wheel, Control and middle wheel for you. So we're in side view. We're going to tab into edit mode. We're going to hit 1 on the keyboard to go into the vertice mode. And we're going to grab that front vertice and go back into side profile, hit 3, and turn on proportional editing so that we could bring back that button. So I'm going to hit G and decrease the radius. That should do it right there. And then hit Control Z to go back, and then I'm going to hit G again. And what I'm doing is just making the front face of that button flat. So G, Y. I'm going to constrain it along the Y axis. There we go. Looking good. 1 on the number pad. I'm going to hit S to scale it down. And then I'm going to go back into side profile view and just move it right along, right on his pouch. There we go. Go 1 to bring up that front view, and then just align it into position. Now you can shade it smooth by clicking on right click and shade smooth. And I'm going to duplicate that by hitting Shift D and then Z to constrain it to the Z axis so they're aligned, and then just move it down. So now we have 2 buttons on his little bag. Alright, so next we're going to add the buttons on the side of the head. It's very similar. So I'm going to go in the front facing mode by hitting 1 on the number pad. Hold Shift A, Mesh, Round Cube. Make sure the radius is 1, and we're going to scale it down. Hit G to move it, and we're just going to place it on the side of his head. And then tab into edit mode. Grab that side vertice. Go back to the front facing menu. Hit G on the keyboard to grab it, and just increase your radius. And we're just going to flatten that sideways by hitting G and then X to constrain it. There you go. You can right click, shade smooth, and then go down to modifier tab, add modifier, subdivide. There you go. I'm gonna click 2. Go back in the front facing menu. I'm actually gonna add a mirror modifier. So go to modifiers tab, add modifier, go to mirror. So in order for this to mirror, we have to apply all transforms. So hit Control A and apply that transform, and that'll just mirror it on the other side of his head. All right, so I think our mesh is fully done. Now we just have to add the materials. All right, so we're gonna add the materials here. We can hide the references, so click on that reference and hold Shift, and we are going to hit M and move it to a new collection and just call it reference. And then we can hide it. We also want to hide it from the render view, so click the little camera, and that'll just hide it from, it won't render in your image. All right, so everything looks good. Our meshes are all done, and we are just gonna add the materials now. So we're gonna hold Z and go into materials preview. And we're gonna click on the body, hit new material, and just name that suit. Go down to base color and just darken it up a little bit. We don't need to change the color on it, but I do want to change the roughness. I want to make it a little shinier. So I'm going to go down to 0.2. There we go. And I'm going to add the same material to the helmet. So click on the helmet, go over here, and just click on suit. So that'll make it the same color as the suit. And I also want to create another material for the reflective of the helmet, the glass. So click the little plus sign right here and click new, and we're going to call it glass. And we're going to make it black, a little bit darker, not all the way black, but just dark. All right, so we're going to tab back into edit mode for the helmet, and we're going to hit 3 on the keyboard to bring up face select, and we're going to select the 4 faces here and hit Control plus so that we can increase the radius. And we're just going to assign that glass to those faces. Then you can tab out. Looks a lot better. Now we're going to change the roughness of the glass down, make it reflective. And then you can change the metallic of it. We're going to increase it to maybe 0.5, just to give it like a really glass-like feeling to it. All right, next we're going to do our boots. We're going to make them a little darker. So click on the boots and hit new material. And we're going to rename it to boots. And you can just make them any color you want. I'm going to go with like a gray. There we go. And I'm also going to decrease the roughness just to give him a little bit shinier tint. And the buttons on top of his head, I'm going to make it the same as his boots, just to give it, you know, a little bit of uniformity. All right, next we're going to change the color of the box on his tummy. So I'm going to click on one of them, hit new material, and we're just going to call it box. And I'm going to make this one gray as well, but a different shade, a little bit darker. And then I'm going to go to the box on the back and just change it to box. Now the little rope, I'm going to make a new material. I'm going to call it rope. Change the base color and just darken it up a bit. There we go. Don't forget to save it, Control S. And the two buttons on the front, I'm going to make them blue. So click on them, hit new material. Change it to button, and I'm just gonna make them like a teal, make it a little darker. And you can play with all the different roughness and specular just to get it to exactly how you want it to look. I'm gonna apply it to the other button as well. Now to make it a little bit more realistic, I'm going to add in an image texture. You're going to want to come over here to World Properties. Click, see where it says color? You want to hit this little dot right here and go to Environment Texture by hitting open and go into the file where you saved your texture at. Now when you go to rendered, it looks like this, but I want to render it in cycles. So go up to the Properties tab, or the Render Properties, and just change your render engine to cycles. And if your device has a GPU on it, change it to GPU. Now I don't want to see the background, so I'm going to remove it, go down to Film, and just click on Transparent. And that'll get rid of that background. All right, so that tutorial is pretty much finished. If you want to add a little bit more realism to the final render, go ahead and watch the next video and I'll show you how I added just some extra features to make it really pop.